This story is about a young person named Alex who struggles to speak English fluently. He feels embarrassed when trying to speak with others. One day, he decides to improve his English no matter what. In each chapter, he discovers new ways to improve. Listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking in English. Through hard work, he slowly becomes confident and fluent. Now let's begin the story. Chapter 1. The struggle begins. Alex was a student who always wanted to speak English fluently. He could understand a few words, but speaking was a big challenge. Every time he tried to talk, he forgot the words or used the wrong ones. People laughed, and this made him feel very shy and sad. He thought, maybe English is too hard for me. One day in class, his teacher asked him a question in English. Alex froze. His heart beat fast, and his mouth stayed shut. Everyone looked at him. After class, he went home and sat in silence. He felt ashamed and asked himself, why can't I speak English? He knew he had to change something. He went to his room and searched online how to improve English fast. He saw many videos and articles. Some said listen more. Others said speak every day. Alex felt confused, but he decided to start somewhere. He told himself, I will learn English step by step. He began by listening to English songs and repeating the words. He didn't understand everything, but he liked how the words sounded. Every day, he chose one song and repeated the lyrics. It was fun and easy to follow. Slowly, he started to learn pronunciation. At night, he looked in the mirror and said some simple English sentences. My name is Alex. I want to learn English. I believe in myself. He smiled, even if he made mistakes. That day, Alex took the first step in his journey to speak English better. Chapter 2. Listening is a key. After a few days of listening to English songs, Alex realized that his ears were getting used to the sound of English. He could now catch simple phrases and words, but he wanted more. So he started watching short English videos with subtitles. At first, he read the subtitles in his native language, but soon he changed the English subtitles to connect the sounds of the words. He didn't understand everything, but he didn't stop. He listened carefully and repeated the phrases out loud to train his ears and tongue at the same time. Alex discovered a YouTube channel for English learners. Every night, he watched a 10-minute video where a teacher spoke slowly and clearly. She explained vocabulary and used examples. He paused the video and repeated after her. Sometimes he rewound the same part 5 times, trying to copy the pronunciation. It was difficult, but he noticed small progress. He began to understand the rhythm of English, how the voice rises and falls, how words connect. To challenge himself, Alex started listening to English podcasts while walking to school. He didn't worry about understanding everything. He just let the words enter his mind. After 1 week, he was surprised. He heard a word on the podcast and remembered it from a song. He smiled and said, I'm learning without noticing. That moment gave him confidence. Listening became a daily habit. In the morning, while brushing his teeth, he played English audio. On the bus, he listened to short stories. At night, he listened to slow English news. His brain started recognizing words more easily. He realized something important. If he wanted to speak English well, he first had to hear it many, many times. He wrote in his notebook, "Listen more. Repeat often. Don't worry about mistakes." That became his personal rule. Alex knew he still had a long way to go, but he was no longer afraid. He was training his brain just like an athlete trains for a race. He had taken control of his learning. Chapter 3, Speaking Without Fear. Alex knew that listening was helping him, but he also understood one thing. To speak well, you have to speak often. But he was scared. What if he made mistakes? What if people laughed again? These thoughts were like walls in his mind. But one day, he remembered what a teacher said in a video. If you wait to be perfect, you will never speak. That sentence stayed in his heart. So, he made a promise to speak English every day, no matter how bad it sounded. At first, he practiced alone. He talked to himself in English in front of the mirror. He described what he was doing. "I am brushing my teeth. I am wearing a blue shirt. I am eating breakfast." It felt strange, but it helped him connect English to his daily life. He didn't need a partner. He only needed his voice. Each time he said something in English, he felt a little braver. Speaking alone helped him prepare for real conversations. Then Alex found a speaking app where learners could talk with others. He was nervous, but he tried it. His first conversation was with a girl from Brazil who was also learning English. She spoke slowly, just like him. They both made mistakes, but they laughed and helped each other. That experience changed everything. Alex realized he wasn't alone. Many people around the world were learning, just like him. After that, he started looking for speaking partners online. He joined English-speaking groups on social media. Every week, he had a small conversation with someone new. Sometimes the internet connection was bad, or the other person talked too fast. But he didn't give up. Every mistake became a lesson. Every sentence he spoke gave him more courage. Speaking became easier little by little. Alex no longer felt embarrassed. He understood that making mistakes was part of the process. He wasn't afraid to sound wrong because he was doing something brave. He was trying. His new rule was simple: speak every day, even just a little. He knew fluency wasn't magic. It was practice, time, and heart. Chapter 4, Reading and Writing to Remember. Alex noticed something interesting. Even though he was listening and speaking more, he sometimes forgot words quickly. He would learn a word today and forget it tomorrow. That made him frustrated. So he searched for answers and discovered something powerful. Reading and writing could help him remember better. He began reading easy English stories online. At first, he read very slowly, but he didn't stop. He wrote down new words in a notebook and read them again the next day. He chose books made for beginners, stories with simple words and short sentences. He read them aloud to improve his pronunciation and understand the flow of English. After each story, he wrote a short summary in English. It was hard at first, but with each story, he got better. He realized that writing helped him remember words longer and understand grammar more clearly. Every morning, he picked 5 new words and used them in a sentence. For example, if he learned the word hope, he wrote, "I hope to speak English fluently." If the word was brave, he wrote, "I am brave because I speak English even when I'm afraid." This simple activity changed the way he learned. He was not only studying words, he was using them in real life. Alex also started keeping a journal in English. Every night before bed, he wrote about his day. He kept it simple. Today I studied English. I listened to a podcast. I talked with a friend. I learned 3 new words. Over time, his writing became smoother and more natural. He even began thinking in English while writing. That was a big step. He no longer felt like he was just studying English. He was living with a language. Reading helped him see how sentences were built. Writing helped him remember and create. He saw progress not in big jumps, but in small, daily steps. And he smiled to himself. I'm not the same student I was before. I'm growing. Chapter 5, Thinking in English. After weeks of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, Alex felt stronger in his English skills. But he noticed something strange. Even though he could say many sentences, he still translated in his head before speaking. This made him slow, and sometimes he forgot words during conversation. One day, a video teacher said, "To speak naturally, you must stop translating. You must think in English." That idea sounded impossible, but Alex was curious. He asked himself, how can I think in a language I'm still learning? He started with simple steps. In the morning, instead of saying, "Estoy despierto," he told himself, "I am awake." When eating breakfast, he thought, "I am eating bread. This tea is hot." He didn't say it out loud. He just thought in English. It was difficult at first. His brain wanted to go back to his native language, but he pushed forward, making a game of it. Every time he caught himself thinking in his first language, he paused and changed the sentence to English. To train more, he used pictures. He looked at photos and tried to describe them in English. The boy is running. The dog is sleeping. The sky is blue. At school, when looking at the teacher, he thought, she is writing on the board. On the bus, he looked at people and imagined sentences in English about them. It felt strange, but slowly it worked. His mind began to accept English thoughts as normal. He didn't need to translate every time. One big change happened when he tried to speak. He no longer paused to find the words in his own language. The sentences came faster. He said things like, "I don't know," or "I'm not sure," without thinking. It was like his brain started switching to English automatically. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real and natural. That gave him so much confidence. He realized that thinking in English was not magic. It was a skill that grows with practice. Now, every day, Alex spends a few minutes just thinking in English when he walks, when he waits in line, even when he washes dishes. English became part of his thoughts. He smiled and said to himself, "This is how people become fluent, not by being perfect, but by using the language with their heart and mind." Chapter 6. Making English part of daily life. As weeks turned into months, Alex didn't just study English, he started living with it. English was no longer just a school subject. It became part of his world. He changed the language on his phone and social media to English. At first, it was confusing. He had to guess some meanings and click buttons to understand, but soon he learned many new words this way. Words like settings, notifications, and update became familiar. Even small things like reading battery low helped him improve. He also began to use English when talking to himself. Instead of saying, "Tengo que estudiar," he told himself, "I need to study." He left sticky notes around his room with useful phrases. "Keep going. Practice makes perfect. You can do it." These little messages kept him motivated. Every object in his house became a vocabulary tool. He labeled his mirror, his bed, his notebook, and even the fridge. The more he saw English, the more natural it felt. Alex made a habit of watching one English video every night before bed. Sometimes it was a grammar lesson, sometimes a motivational speech. He also followed English-speaking creators who talk about things he liked, music, games, and science. He realized that when you enjoy the content, learning becomes easy. He was no longer forcing himself to study. He was having fun and learning at the same time. One of the biggest changes happened when he stopped being afraid of mistakes. If he didn't know a word, he tried to explain it in other ways. If he made a grammar mistake, he just corrected himself and moved on. He no longer felt embarrassed. Mistakes became a normal part of his journey. He knew that every great speaker was once a beginner too. This mindset helped him stay positive, even on hard days. By now, Alex didn't need reminders to practice. English was part of his routine. He woke up with English thoughts and went to sleep after watching something in English. His world had changed. He wasn't just learning a language. He was building a new way of thinking, a new version of himself. Chapter 7. Confidence and Growth. One day, something amazing happened. Alex was walking in the park when he heard two tourists speaking English. They looked lost. Without thinking, he walked over and asked, "Do you need help?" The tourists looked surprised but happy. They asked for directions, and Alex explained how to reach the museum. He didn't speak perfectly, but they understood. When they said, "Thank you so much," Alex felt proud. It was the first time he used English in a real situation, and it worked. That moment gave him more than happiness. It gave him proof. proof that all his work, all his hours of practice, all his small efforts had created real change. He had started as someone who couldn't answer a simple classroom question, and now he was helping strangers using a language that once felt impossible. That feeling stayed with him and pushed him to go even further. Alex decided to join a local English club. Every Saturday, people met to talk in English about different topics: movies, travel, food, and life. At first, he was shy, but when he heard others making mistakes too, he relaxed. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about practicing together. Week after week, his voice grew stronger. He shared his opinions, asked questions, and even made jokes in English. People listened to him. That gave him more than confidence. It gave him joy. At home, his family noticed a change. His mother said, "You look different, happier." And it was true. Alex didn't just learn a language. He grew as a person. He learned patience, courage, and consistency. He understood that progress is not always fast or easy, but it is always possible. He wrote in his journal, "Every small effort creates a big result over time." Now, Alex helps others. He shares tips with friends who are also learning. He tells them, "Don't give up. Listen, speak, read, write, and think in English. Do it every day. Don't be afraid of mistakes." Because now he knows from experience that fluency is not a gift. It's something you build one day at a time with effort and heart. Chapter 8: Teaching Others What You Learn. After gaining confidence and joining the English club, Alex realized something important. When you teach others, you learn even more. One day, his cousin asked him, "How did you learn to speak English so well?" Alex smiled and said, "I practiced every day and I never gave up." His cousin seemed interested, so Alex offered to help him learn. They met twice a week, and Alex showed him the simple steps he had used: listening daily, thinking in English, and labeling objects at home. At first, it felt strange to be a teacher, but soon Alex noticed that explaining grammar rules and vocabulary helped him understand those things better himself. When his cousin asked questions, Alex had to think deeply. Why do we say "I am going" instead of "I going"? How do we use "have been"? Teaching made him review old lessons and strengthen his knowledge. He realized that sharing what you know is one of the best ways to master a subject. Alex also started a small blog where he wrote short posts in English about what he was learning. He shared tips, mistakes to avoid, and simple phrases people could use in daily life. At first, only a few friends read his blog, but then more people joined. Some wrote comments saying, "Thank you, this helped me." Others asked questions. Alex responded with kindness and patience. It felt great to help others, especially because he understood how hard the journey could be. Through this process, Alex learned that language is not only about words and grammar. It's also about connection. When you share your story, others feel inspired. When you teach, you grow stronger. He told his cousin, "You don't have to be perfect to help someone. You just need to be one step ahead." That mindset changed everything. He was no longer just a student. He had become a leader in his small community of learners. Most of all, teaching gave Alex a new purpose. He no longer studied just for himself. He studied so he could explain better, help more, and show others that they could succeed too. And deep inside, he knew this. Helping others made his English journey richer, more meaningful, and more rewarding than he ever imagined. Chapter 9, Overcoming New Challenges. Just when everything seemed smooth, Alex faced a new challenge. His English club invited him to give a short talk at a public event for language learners. At first, he felt excited, but then the fear kicked in. What if I forget my words? What if I freeze in front of everyone? The old fear of speaking returned, but now Alex had tools. He knew that fear was part of growth. So he accepted the invitation and began to prepare his speech. He practiced every day. He wrote his talk carefully, using words and phrases he was comfortable with. He recorded himself speaking and listened to the audio. He noticed where he was too fast or unclear. He stood in front of the mirror and practiced gestures and eye contact. He even gave the speech to his family, who clapped and said, "You sound great." Slowly, his fear started to shrink. He still felt nervous, but now he also felt ready. The day of the event arrived. His hands were cold and his heart beat fast. But when he stood on stage and looked at the friendly faces in the room, something changed. He took a deep breath and said, "Hello, everyone. My name is Alex, and today I want to share my story of learning English." As he spoke, the words came naturally. He talked about his struggles, his practice, and how he learned to think in English. People listened closely. Some nodded, some smiled. When he finished, the room filled with applause. Several people came to thank him and said, "You gave me hope. If you can do it, I can too." That moment became one of the best of his life. He realized that English had not only given him a new language, it had given him confidence, courage, and the ability to inspire. All his hard work had led to that moment, and it was worth every second. After the event, Alex felt different. He no longer saw English as a problem to fix. It had become a tool, a powerful tool to connect, express, and grow. He understood that new challenges would always come, but he was no longer afraid of them. He had learned the secret. Every fear you face becomes a step forward on the path to fluency and personal growth. Chapter 10, The Journey Never Ends. Now, Alex continues to study English, but not because he feels weak. He does it because he loves learning. He watches documentaries, reads books, and even listens to English podcasts while exercising. He knows that fluency is not a destination. It's a journey, and every day offers new ways to improve. Sometimes he still makes mistakes, but now he smiles when it happens. Mistakes mean progress, and progress means movement. Alex has also started dreaming in English from time to time. The first time it happened, he woke up surprised. "Did I really speak English in my dream?" he laughed. It felt like a sign that the language had become part of his mind and soul. He began to see English not as something outside of him, but something inside, something he carried wherever he went. He also made international friends online. They practiced together, shared stories, and even played games in English. Through these connections, he discovered different cultures and ways of thinking. English became more than a skill. It became a bridge to the world. He realized that with English, you don't just learn to speak differently. You learn to see differently. You grow, you understand, and you open your heart to people from everywhere. Looking back, Alex is proud. He remembers the days when he couldn't say a sentence, the times he felt embarrassed, the nights he wanted to quit. But he didn't stop. He kept going. He believed in small steps, daily practice, and the power of patience. And that belief transformed his life. He wrote on his wall, "One word a day, one thought at a time. That's how you become fluent." His journey is not over, and he's glad. Because now, learning English is not just about speaking. It's about discovering who he is, what he can do, and how far he can go. And every time someone asks him, "How did you learn?" he smiles and says, "I never gave up, and I never will." For many years, I tried to learn English, but I always faced the same problem. I couldn't speak fluently. I could understand many words when I listened to English videos or songs, but when it was my turn to speak, my mind would go blank. I often knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't form the sentences quickly. I felt embarrassed, especially when people were waiting for me to respond. I avoided conversations in English, and even though I studied grammar and vocabulary, my speaking skills did not improve. It was frustrating, and I started to believe that maybe speaking English wasn't for me. I tried many techniques that people recommended on YouTube and language blogs. I repeated sentences after listening to English podcasts, watched movies with subtitles, and even wrote short dialogues in a notebook. Although these methods helped me understand English better, they didn't make me more confident when speaking. I would still hesitate or mispronounce words, and sometimes I felt like I had no rhythm when talking. One day, I searched online for how to speak English fluently, and I saw a video about a technique called shadowing. I had never heard of it before, but the title promised fast improvement in speaking. I was curious, so I clicked on the video. The person explained that shadowing means listening to a sentence or phrase in English and immediately repeating it out loud, trying to copy the pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation exactly like the speaker. It sounded like something I could try. The idea was to speak along with native speakers, just a few seconds behind them, like an echo. At first, it sounded strange, and I wondered if it really worked. But the speaker in the video said it helped him sound more natural and speak faster. That was exactly what I wanted. That evening, I decided to test the technique. I chose a short video on YouTube with subtitles, slowed it down to 0.75 speed, and try to repeat what the speaker was saying. At the beginning, I couldn't keep up. I had to pause and rewind many times, and I made lots of mistakes. But even though it was hard, I noticed something interesting. I was paying more attention to how the words were pronounced. I wasn't just reading the subtitles. I was listening carefully. It felt like a new way of training my brain and my mouth to work together. After practicing for about 20 minutes, I was exhausted. My mouth hurt a little from trying to copy the sounds so many times. But I also felt proud. I had spoken more English in those 20 minutes than I had in a whole week. Shadowing forced me to open my mouth and speak, even if it wasn't perfect. I decided to do it every day for at least 10 minutes and see what would happen after a week. Chapter 2, Getting Used to the Technique. At first, shadowing was not easy. It felt uncomfortable to talk out loud, especially because I live with my family and didn't want them to hear me speaking English alone in my room. I was afraid they would think I was going crazy. So I started practicing when no one was home, or I put on my headphones and whispered at first. I chose short videos, usually 1 to 2 minutes long, and focused on repeating each sentence as soon as I heard it. Sometimes I use interviews, other times TED Talks, or even clips from movies. The important thing was to hear native English and try to copy it exactly. I noticed that shadowing forced me to be more focused than other techniques. When I was just listening or watching a video with subtitles, my mind could wander. But with shadowing, I had to listen carefully and repeat fast. There was no time to daydream or get distracted. It was like a workout for my brain and tongue. I began to notice how native speakers linked their words together, how they used intonation, and how some words were not pronounced clearly but still understood. These were things I had never really noticed before. After a few days, I started to enjoy shadowing. I didn't have to think too much about grammar or vocabulary. I just copied what I heard. It felt natural, like a baby learning to speak by imitating their parents. I also realized I was improving my listening skills at the same time. I could catch more words in conversations and understand faster. My pronunciation started to improve little by little. I could hear myself sounding more like the native speakers in the videos. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. I also tried different styles of English. I shadowed American speakers, British speakers, and even Australians. Each accent had its own challenges, but the technique worked with all of them. Sometimes I used podcasts without subtitles, which was harder, but it trained my ears. Other times, I used songs, which helped me with rhythm and melody. The best part was that I could practice anywhere, while walking, cleaning, or even lying in bed. Shadowing didn't require a teacher or a textbook, just audio, attention, and my voice. By the end of the second week, I noticed that I was no longer afraid to speak. I still made mistakes, but I didn't freeze. When I spoke English with friends online, they said my pronunciation had improved. One person even asked if I had taken a speaking course. That made me smile. I realized that shadowing was not just a technique. It was a habit that could change the way I learned languages forever. Chapter 3: Building My Own Shadowing Routine. After seeing results, I decided to organize my shadowing practice in a better way. I create a routine to follow every day with different types of audio and goals. In the morning, I started my day by shadowing a motivational video or a TED Talk. This gave me energy and helped me improve my formal vocabulary. In the afternoon, I used TV show dialogues or interviews to learn more casual expressions and how native speakers really talk in daily life. And before going to bed, I listened to a podcast, sometimes just repeating parts of it, and sometimes trying to shadow the whole thing. My day felt full of English, but in a fun and natural way. To track my progress, I started recording myself. At first, I hated the sound of my voice, especially in English. It sounded slow, and I noticed many pronunciation problems. But over time, I could hear real improvement. My voice became more confident, and my speech sounded smoother. I compared old recordings with new ones every week, and that helped me stay motivated. I realized that even though I still made mistakes, I was moving forward. Every shadowing session was like a step toward fluency, and because I enjoyed it, it didn't feel like a chore. I also started reading aloud before shadowing. I would take a transcript or subtitles and read the sentences out loud first, slowly, focusing on pronunciation. Then, I would play the video and start shadowing, trying to match the speaker's speed. This warm-up helped me prepare my mouth and ears for the challenge. After shadowing, I repeated the sentences again, this time trying to say them from memory. That way, I practiced listening, speaking, pronunciation, and memory all at once. It became a complete language workout that helped me improve faster than ever. Sometimes, I shared the technique with other learners online. Many of them had never heard of shadowing and were surprised when I explained how it worked. A few friends tried it too and told me they felt silly at first, but after a few days, they saw results. We even started a small group where we practiced shadowing together once a week on Zoom. We would take turns playing audio and repeating after it. It felt good to share this journey with others, and we learned from each other's mistakes and progress. Shadowing was not just helping me, it was helping others too. I started to believe that anyone could improve their English speaking skills with shadowing, as long as they were consistent and patient. The technique didn't require special talent, just dedication. I was not the best English student, but I was improving because I practiced every day. I learned that shadowing was not about being perfect, but about getting used to speaking and listening actively. Over time, my confidence grew, and I was no longer afraid of speaking in class or with native speakers. For the first time, I felt like English was a part of my life, not just a subject I studied. Chapter 4: Real Conversations, Real Confidence. One day, something amazing happened. I joined a live English conversation group online. Usually I would just listen and maybe say a few words, but this time was different. When the teacher asked a question, I raise my hand and answer without thinking too much. My sentences were not perfect, but they came out naturally. I didn't stop to translate in my head like I used to. The words just flowed. People in the group smiled and nodded, and the teacher said, "Great answer." I felt proud. Shadowing had trained my brain to react quickly and speak without fear. From that moment, I started looking for more opportunities to use English in real life. I talked to tourists in my city, joined online forums, and even helped a friend who was preparing for the TOEFL exam. I wasn't just learning English anymore. I was using it. The more I spoke, the more I improved. And every time I got stuck, I remembered how I had repeated hundreds of sentences during my shadowing practice. That repetition had given me automatic responses and common phrases I could use in conversations. Shadowing had become my secret weapon. People began to ask me how I improved so fast. I told them about shadowing and showed them my routine. Some of them thought it sounded too difficult or boring, but I always told them, "Try for 1 week. You will see the difference." I believe that shadowing was one of the most powerful techniques for language learners because it combines speaking, listening, and pronunciation practice at the same time. It also helped build the confidence to speak in public. I no longer needed to memorize long vocabulary lists or grammar rules. I just practiced speaking by copying real English. As I continued, I made my shadowing practice more advanced. I tried to shadow more complex videos, like news reports or debates. These were harder because the speakers talked fast and used formal vocabulary, but I liked the challenge. I also experimented with shadowing without subtitles, which forced me to listen more carefully and trust my ears. It wasn't easy, and I made many mistakes. But I also noticed that I was developing better listening skills. I could understand people better, even when they used slang or spoke quickly. Shadowing had trained my ears as much as my tongue. By the end of the month, I felt like a different person. My English had transformed. I was more fluent, more confident, and more comfortable speaking in any situation. I didn't panic when someone asked me something in English. I didn't worry about making mistakes. I just spoke. And the reason I had reached that level was simple. I had made shadowing a daily habit. It wasn't magic. It was practice. But the results felt magical because they gave me the freedom to express myself in a new language. Chapter 5. My advice for new learners. Looking back, I wish I had discovered the shadowing technique earlier. It could have saved me so much time and frustration. That's why I always tell new learners, don't wait to be perfect before you start speaking. Shadowing helps you speak from the first day. You don't need to understand every word. Just listen, repeat, and try to match the native speaker's sound. Over time, your brain will start to recognize patterns, your pronunciation will improve, and your fluency will grow naturally. Don't worry if you feel silly. Feeling silly means you're learning something new. If you want to try shadowing, my advice is to start small. Choose short videos or podcasts with subtitles. Listen to one sentence, pause, and repeat it out loud. Do it again and again until you feel comfortable. Then try to shadow in real time, just 1 or 2 seconds behind the speaker. Don't be afraid to rewind and try again. It's not about speed. It's about training your brain and mouth to work together. Over time, you can move to longer and faster audio. The more you practice, the better you will become. Make shadowing a part of your daily life. You can do it while walking, cleaning, or even commuting. You don't need a classroom or a teacher, just your phone, your voice, and some motivation. Record yourself often and listen to your progress. You'll be surprised at how much your pronunciation and fluency improve in just a few weeks. If possible, combine shadowing with real conversation practice. What you repeat today, you will use tomorrow in real life. Shadowing builds your speaking foundation. It gives you the tools you need to communicate clearly. Most importantly, be patient and kind to yourself. Learning a language is not easy, but it is possible. Shadowing will help you feel the language, not just learn it. It teaches you to think in English by repeating real expressions, real sounds, and real rhythm. You don't have to understand every grammar rule to speak well. You just need practice. Shadowing is practice with purpose. It's active, dynamic, and powerful. And the more you do it, the more natural English will feel to you. Today, I continue using shadowing to improve not only my English, but also other languages I'm learning. It's my favorite technique because it brings results. I no longer fear speaking. I enjoy it. And every time someone asks me, "How did you learn to speak so fluently?" I smile and say, "I followed the shadow." Chapter 6. Shadowing helped me think in English. One of the biggest surprises of using the shadowing technique was how it slowly helped me start thinking in English. At first, I didn't even notice it. But one day, while I was walking to the store, I realized that I was talking to myself in English, not in my native language. I was describing the street, the people, and even my plans for the day, all in English. This had never happened before. I used to mentally translate everything from my native language. But after weeks of shadowing every single day, English had started to become natural in my thoughts. This shift happened because shadowing exposed me to real English patterns every day. I wasn't just studying rules or vocabulary. I was hearing real phrases, used in real situations, over and over again. My brain started to memorize entire sentences, not just individual words. I was training my mouth and brain to use English together. The constant repetition made these expressions stick in my memory, and when I needed them in conversation, they appeared without effort. It was like having a library of ready-made phrases in my head, just waiting to be used. Thinking in English also helped me speak faster and with fewer pauses. Before shadowing, I often hesitated while speaking. I had to stop and search for words, and I worried about grammar. But now, because I had heard and repeated so many natural sentences, I could respond quickly. My answers weren't always perfect, but they were smooth and clear. I didn't have to translate. I just spoke. That gave me confidence. It also made speaking more enjoyable because I wasn't stuck in my head anymore. I was communicating and it felt great. This change didn't happen overnight. It took time, consistency, and patience. Some days were harder than others. Sometimes I felt like I was not improving, especially when I listened to fast speakers. But I kept going. I reminded myself that every shadowing session was helping my brain get used to English. And slowly I noticed progress. I started to understand movies without subtitles, and I could join conversations more easily. The feeling of being able to think in another language was amazing. It made me feel free, and it gave me the motivation to keep going. Shadowing helped me realize that fluency isn't just about knowing vocabulary. It's about training your brain to live in a language. When you shadow daily, you teach your brain to process English as it is spoken. You don't just learn words. You learn the rhythm, tone, and structure of the language. That's why shadowing is so powerful. It transforms your relationship with English. You stop being a student and start being a speaker. And that shift in mindset changes everything. Chapter 7. Common Mistakes and How I Overcame Them. While shadowing helped me improve a lot, I made many mistakes along the way. One of the first mistakes was trying to copy the speaker too fast without understanding the meaning. In the beginning, I focused too much on sounding like the native speaker and forgot to actually listen to the words. As a result, I repeated things without knowing what they meant. That was a big problem. I realized that shadowing is not just about repeating. It's about active listening. You have to understand what you say, or it won't help your fluency in the long run. To fix this, I started reading the transcript first. I looked up any words I didn't know and made sure I understood the whole sentence. Then I shadowed it with more focus. I repeated each part, not just with my voice, but also with meaning. I tried to feel the sentence emotionally and imagine the situation behind it. This made my shadowing much more effective. My pronunciation improved, but more importantly, my comprehension improved. I stopped being a robot that copied sounds and became a real speaker who understood the message. Another mistake was trying to do too much in one session. Some days, I wanted to shadow a whole 30-minute podcast. I thought the more I practiced, the better, but that only made me tired and frustrated. I couldn't concentrate, and I started making more mistakes. So I changed my approach. I focused on short, high-quality practice, maybe 5 or 10 minutes per session, but done with total attention. I repeated the same section many times and recorded myself. It was better to do less, but do it well. Quality over quantity. That became my motto. There were also days when I felt like giving up. I would listen to fast speakers and feel lost. I made pronunciation mistakes that embarrassed me. But I reminded myself that mistakes are part of the process. Every time I failed to shadow something correctly, I learned something new. I used those moments to improve. I slowed down, broke the sentence into parts, and practiced again. Slowly, the difficult parts became easier. Shadowing taught me not only how to speak English, but also how to be patient and persistent. Most of all, I learned to trust the process. I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to keep going. Shadowing is like learning to play an instrument. You repeat the same notes over and over until your fingers remember them. In language, your tongue and brain need the same kind of training. And every mistake is part of that training. Now, when I hear someone struggling to speak English, I don't criticize. I smile because I know exactly how it feels. And I know that with time and shadowing, they can get better too. Chapter 8. Why Shadowing Changed My Life. Shadowing didn't just help me learn English. It changed my life. Before I started, I was shy, uncertain, and afraid of speaking. I felt like English was a wall between me and the world. But now, English has become my bridge. I can connect with people from all over the world. I can understand movies, books, and conversations. I can express myself, share my ideas, and learn about other cultures. And all of this started with one simple habit: listening and repeating after native speakers every single day. Because of shadowing, I also became more confident in myself. Learning to speak another language made me realize how much I'm capable of. I used to believe I wasn't good at languages, but shadowing showed me that I just needed the right method and the discipline to practice. Every time I improved, I felt proud. Every word I spoke correctly was a small victory. That confidence carried over into other parts of my life. I became more open, more curious, and more brave. Shadowing taught me not only how to speak, but also how to believe in myself. Now, I use English at work, in travel, and with international friends. I've even started helping others learn with the shadowing technique. I share my story with them and show them how to build a daily routine. Some of them are just beginning, and I tell them, start with 2 minutes a day. Don't worry about mistakes. Just speak. They're surprised at how fast they improve. Seeing their progress reminds me of my own journey. It feels amazing to be part of someone else's success, too. Looking back, I'm grateful I found this method. There are many ways to learn English, but shadowing worked best for me because it made me active. I wasn't sitting quietly, just listening or reading. I was speaking, moving, repeating, and feeling the language. It made English real. It gave me the voice I was missing. And now that I have it, I want to keep improving. Not because I have to, but because I love to. If you're reading this and wondering if shadowing can work for you, I'll tell you the truth. Yes, it can. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you come from, or how much you know now. If you commit to shadowing every day, even for just a few minutes, your English will grow. Maybe not overnight, but faster than you think. It changed my life, and it can change yours too. Chapter 9, My Daily Shadowing Routine Today. Now that shadowing is part of my life, I built a solid daily routine that keeps me improving. Every morning, I start with short warm-up. I listen to a 2 to 3 minute audio clip from a podcast, TED Talk, or YouTube video spoken by a native speaker. I make sure the topic is interesting and a little bit challenging. Then I listen once without shadowing, just to understand the main idea. I pay attention to the speaker's tone, rhythm, and speed. This helps me get into the English zone before I start repeating anything. After that first listen, I go back to the beginning and shadow the same clip 3 times. I don't worry if I make mistakes during the first try. I just try to follow the speaker's flow. On the second try, I focus more on pronunciation and linking words. By the third time, I try to match the speaker's emotion and speed as closely as possible. I usually record myself and compare it with the original. This is a great way to spot small errors and fix them. It's amazing how much you can improve just by listening to yourself and correcting little details. Once I finished shadowing, I read the transcript carefully. I highlight phrases I like or didn't understand at first. Then, I write a short summary in English using some of those new expressions. This part is important. It helps me use the language actively, not just repeat it. After writing, I read my summary out loud several times. I even shadow myself reading it, trying to speak clearly and naturally. This reinforces everything I just learned and helps me build fluency with my own words, not just copied sentences. In the afternoon or evening, I do a second shorter session. Sometimes I choose a different clip, but often I go back to the same one. Repetition is key. I might only shadow for 5 minutes, but I give it my full attention. Some days I'm tired or busy, so I do just a quick session, but I never skip a day, even if it's only 2 minutes. That consistency is what keeps me improving. Shadowing is now like brushing my teeth. Something small I do every day that keeps my English strong and fresh. Thanks to this routine, I'm not only maintaining my English, but also growing in confidence and speed. I can now hold conversations, give short presentations, and even think in English without much effort. My speaking feels smoother, my listening skills are sharper, and I don't fear fast English anymore. I've turned a simple daily habit into a powerful tool for fluency. If you build your own routine and stick to it, I believe you can experience the same success too. Chapter 10. Final advice for shadowing success. As someone who struggled and then succeeded with the shadowing technique, I want to share my most important advice with you. First, don't worry about sounding perfect in the beginning. You might feel silly or frustrated when you can't keep up, but that's normal. It's like learning a song or a dance. You're not supposed to master it the first day. What matters is showing up daily and trying again. If you focus on progress instead of perfection, you'll enjoy the process much more. Second, always choose materials that are interesting and clear. Don't just use any audio. Pick something you enjoy listening to. If it's boring, you'll lose motivation quickly. Start with slower speakers or short videos with subtitles. TED Talks, English learning channels, and podcasts with native speakers are excellent choices. When you enjoy what you're shadowing, you naturally stay motivated and learn faster without feeling like it's a chore. Third, Don't forget to combine shadowing with other skills. Shadowing improves your speaking and listening, but you also need to read, write, and speak freely. Try writing summaries, joining conversations, or even talking to yourself about your day in English. Shadowing gives you foundation. But the more you use English in different ways, the more flexible and fluent you'll become. Fluency is not just about repeating. It's about expressing your thoughts naturally and confidently. Fourth, stay patient and celebrate your progress. You may not notice improvement every day, but over time, it becomes clear. Record yourself weekly and listen again after a month. You'll be surprised how far you've come. Keep a journal of new phrases and note when you use them in real life. Each little success, whether it's understanding a movie without subtitles or having a conversation with a native speaker, is proof that shadowing works. Be proud of every step. Finally, remember this: shadowing is not magic. It's just focused, consistent practice. But when done right, it feels like magic because the results are so powerful. It transformed my English, boosted my confidence, and opened new opportunities in my life.